Yes, there were a lot of twists and turns and details about this case, but the real shocker here was when they made the arrest. No one could believe that it was a dear family friend.
Have there been ransom demands?
Yes, there has been.
September 1995, the small Texas town of Conroe, just 40 miles north of Houston. In a state of heartbreak, shock, and despair, as they searched for 12-year-old McKay Everett, who suddenly vanished from his family home.
And it was someone on the other line saying to kidnap my son.
Kidnappers demanding $500,000. Days later, McKay is found murdered, and the suspect? Hilton Crawford, a trusted, beloved family friend of the Everetts, who was a former cop. That's the story behind a new KSL podcast titled Ransom, Position of Trust.
So he calls Hilton thinking, my good friend will know what to do. Well, it looks as though his good friend had our victim in his trunk at the time.
Donnie Miller, who has ties to Utah, was an FBI agent on the case, a case that still haunts him.
Hilton Crawford was a dear friend to this family. He secreted the darkness in his life beneath a very bright, shiny demi-gloss of an exterior. How could you do that to your best friend?
The deeper I dove into it, the more interesting I found.
It was Donnie's son, Austin, that started looking into the case 4.5 years ago and pitched it to KSL.
Ransom are extremely rare, especially by someone who was considered a pillar of the community.
It's a story that captured the attention of the entire nation.
Art Rascone, my brother, was an anchor in Texas who covered the case. He is also the host of the podcast.
No one would ever dream and think of this type of scenario playing out, where the culprit, the perpetrator of this, is someone who is known so well and so loved by that family and by that young boy. The reason this one is so relevant today is because this mother still does not feel to this day that justice was served.
A lot more detail in this 9-episode podcast. A link to this podcast can be done by going to kslpodcast.com. I'm Dan Rascone for KSL 5 News.